Guys, how's it going? Ricky here from Most Valuable Podcast, here to bring you our college basketball rankings for this upcoming week. This one, hopefully it's getting back to normal after this week because of, like last week, we brought them to you Tuesday night instead of Monday night, so they were a little bit off by a day. These ones after this should be back to the regular routine of Monday to Sunday, and if you haven't noticed, I got a new haircut, a new do going, so I don't have all the frilly hair that you're used to me having, but we're going to get right into it. The first two teams that I want to give respect to getting votes, Notre Dame Fighting Irish and Wichita State. They were both in my rankings. Weren't in Brandon's. I was surprised Notre Dame wasn't because he does like the Fighting Irish from now and then if he's not roll tiding, but we're going to start from the bottom, and this is 24 through 21, and I say 24 through 21 because we have a tie there at the bottom between Dayton and Oregon, both getting into the rankings new for this week. Dayton's been here before, though, in later editions. Then at 23, we've got the Purdue Boilermakers and the South Carolina Gamecocks at 22. Then the Arizona Wildcats at 21. Arizona losing a game this week, falling back 10 spots. When I saw it, I was like, okay, kind of a lot. I had them falling more than Brandon, so blame me. South Carolina lost. They weren't even on my rankings. And Purdue, a big loss this week against the Iowa Hawkeyes, who are a top 3 team in the AP rankings. So all these teams losing, falling back, Arizona being the biggest. But let's move on, 19 through 16. And you're probably saying, well, Ricky, where's 20? That's because 20's tied with 19. We've got Duke and Kentucky tied at 19. Indiana moving up from 23 all the way to number 18. Baylor moving down 3 spots, and Louisville moving up 1. And Baylor just losing to Oklahoma this past weekend. And Brandon on the podcast said, well, Ricky, it was only a 10-point loss, but that second half to me, they looked like they were getting owned by Oklahoma. And, it was just one of those things where it's like, you know what, Baylor, you got to move down. They only moved down 3 in the conjoined rankings. Indiana, this team looks like the team to beat in the Big Ten. It should be a great matchup when they meet Iowa later this season. But let's move on. Number 15 through number 11. And this is a shocker because we have a 4-way tie. A 4-way tie for number 11, and I'll get the non-11 out of the way first, the weirdos down there in Miami. The U coming in there at number 15. Then the tie at 11, the 4-team tie. We've got the Cyclones from Ames. We've got the Cavaliers from Virginia, the Mountaineers from West Virginia, and then Old Sparty there at number 11. And I find it funny because Sparty and Iowa State this week move up together, and then because West Virginia lost and Virginia lost, both the Virginian teams losing, they kind of join Sparty and the Cyclones here at number 11. I kind of wanted to move the Cyclones up a little bit more, but I just couldn't this week. And then we get to our top 10. And at number 10, the Providence Friars getting a big win this weekend over top 5 opponent, the Villanova Hova. Then at number 9, the SMU Mustangs. I had this team falling a little bit more than Brandon because they lose to Temple. And as you guys know me, who the fuck is Temple? Yeah, especially in college basketball. Football, it's a different story because that team can just flat out ball. But SMU, yeah, you were undefeated, but when you lose to one of your weak opponents in your conference, yeah, it's going to knock you down a peg more than it would someone else. Then Maryland at number 8 coming in, and at number 6 tied with the Texas A&M Aggies and the Xavier Musketeers. And the Aggies still undefeated in the SEC. Some of you may think, well, Ricky, they should be a top 5 team. Check out the Primetime Podcast this week. Me and Brandon go into detail at length about whether we think the A&M Aggies should be a contender in March Madness, and will they? And then we've got the top 5, and coming in the rear at number 5, we've got the Kansas Jayhawks. Bill Self and that team have kind of fallen from grace a little bit, no longer a top 3 team in our rankings. Coming in tied at 3, however, the Iowa Hawkeyes, getting some big wins this week and this upcoming week, are going to play another big opponent in the Mellow Trimble, Maryland Terrapins. Can't wait for that game. I want to say it's Thursday night. Cannot wait for that one. Tied with them is Villanova, who, interesting to where they were 4th last week in our rankings. They lose this week to Providence, however, find themselves moving up because of the Kansas loss and the Kansas, how they played against Texas. So teams moving down actually benefit Villanova in our rankings. And then I want to say alone at the top, but I should say the pair at the top of our rankings. The Sooners and the Tar Heels. Really, you can't go wrong with either one of these teams. To me, even though Oklahoma, they did lose this week, I mean, you know what? They're still a top team. They are still the top team to me. However, if you put the Tar Heels like Brandon did, I got no disrespect on that. I can't argue with that because they're a good team as well. Both of the teams, like we've said, there's so much parity in college basketball this year to where any of these teams near the top, especially the Tar Heels and Oklahoma right now, put them at number 1 and you can't really argue. But that's going to do it for our top 25 this week in college basketball. Go ahead and let me know down below what you guys think of the rankings. Who's too high, who may be too low, and who needs to be on the rankings. I want to hear from some of you who are like, whoa, Ricky, this team got snubbed. They've got to be in the rankings next week. I want to thank you guys for checking out this video. Go ahead, hit me up, Most Valuable Podcast up on Twitter. You can also hit that sub button and check out our Patreon page where we've got some cool rewards for you guys if you want to help out the YouTube channel and our podcast. Thank you again for checking out this video. But as always, have a good day, everybody.